Mechanical media?
Canico, Canico Media 5G. And we're live. It's cool though.
Canico Media 5G?
Yep. And then it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In case any of you guys are wondering what our Wi-Fi password is, that's what it is.
Oh my gosh, are we on?
Yeah, but it's fine. It's not like anything crazy. So, what's up, everybody? We are live in the studio today with Cindy from BottleGirlDiaries.
Hi.
And I know that we're going to do a rebrand and everything like that, but we'll talk about that in a second. If you guys have any questions while we're going through things, make sure you ask and we'll try to answer whatever we can. But yeah, hey, welcome.
Hi.
Thanks for coming out to the
Good
studio
seeing you
today.
Again. Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about what is Bottle Girl Diaries. How did you even start it and get started in podcasting?
Well, it was quarantine, so I had nothing but time. And I've been in the nightlife industry for over 8 years. So, I was like, I've lived a really interesting life and I wanted to just kind of shine some light on the industry and share with people, the ins and outs of our lifestyle, doing bottle service, just Vegas itself, and then sharing some tea, sharing some good stories, some, just kind of testimonials of different types of females that have come to Vegas to do this job, and they all come from different walks of life, right? So yeah, that's what I really wanted it for. And I'm going to be honest with you, like I kind of did it to just play around. Like I was like, oh, this is going to be funny. Like I've always wanted to have my own talk show. When I was a little girl, I used to like sit in front of the mirror and practice, change outfits and be like, hey guys, so this is what we're wearing to breakfast today. My mom would actually like spank me because she's like, why are you changing your outfits 3 times and then putting them in the laundry and you wore it for like 2 seconds? And so I kind of just did it for fun. And then it kind of somewhat blew up.
Yeah.
A lot more than I thought it would, got a lot of views. I was like, oh my gosh. So then that drove me even more to go further with it. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I think, for me personally, I just barely got into podcasting, right? And I only got into it because we built a podcast studio. And I was like, well, we have this podcast studio. I should probably start podcasting, right?
Yeah.
And the way that I kind of leverage podcasting is probably different than the way that you kind of do it, because for me, I'm doing it for my business, not necessarily gaining an audience of the general public and people, right? So it's a little bit different. So that's why I'm like interested in talking to you about your journey in podcasting and learning more about like, the parts you love, the parts you hate about it. So let's start with that. What's been one of your maybe favorite things about podcasting?
I would say not realizing that you're doing it and you could be like inspiring people, and then seeing people, they're like, I loved your episode, like that inspired me, or that shit made me laugh. Like it's really funny, like when you actually stop to think, you're just out there doing it and putting yourself out there, and then you don't realize like the difference you're making, the impact you're making, the influence you're having. So kind of, I was just going to tell you, even though you say you're not doing this to gain an audience, you're going to gain an audience.
Exactly. No, no, I mean, the influence that you can have on people's lives, the inspiration that you can have, the knowledge that you can share, right? We've already seen, like, we don't have a huge following, right? We're new, but we've already had people come up to me in the DMs or in real life going like, dude, I never knew this. Like, thanks for sharing that. And I was like, oh, like, I guess people don't know that, but I've been doing this for 17 years. So to me, it's just common sense with filmmaking or marketing, because I talk a lot about marketing on mine. So we have 2 podcasts. We have The Truth About Marketing, which is kind of more generalized marketing, mindset, business growth type stuff. And then we're launching this one, which is all about podcasting. And yeah, it's been interesting to see, like, even the small reach that we do have being able to impact people. So I love that. Before you got started, did you have like any fears? I think that there's a lot of people that are like, I want to start this, but I'm just scared of what people are going to think of me, or how do I start? Did you have any of that? Was there anything holding you back, or were you just like, when you came up with the idea, you're just like, I'm going to go do this?
When I tell you that my intro video was just like, hey, everyone, welcome to my new channel. This is BottleGirlDiaries. This is what it's going to be about. It's literally like a 5-minute long intro. And I re-recorded that over 30 times. And then the first episode, we totally trashed it and recorded a new one. So yes, I would say somewhat you do care about what other people think. One, because you're kind of like, there's so many other people in this industry. Are they going to get mad at me for spilling this? Are they going to be happy for me? But then, I'm going to be honest, like I listen to like a lot of motivational podcasts, and if you're scared about like what people think, there's no way in this life, no chance that you're going to be successful. And then you're just going to become mundane and like average. And my bigger fear than of what people think about me is just being average.
Yeah.
And so yeah, at first I did, but then I just got more focused on the people that are supporting me instead of like people who aren't. So far though, like online, like I haven't gotten many internet trolls or, thumb
Yeah.
gangsters. I'm more focused on the people who support me. So, but yes, it was definitely scary at first putting myself out there. And I cringe when I watch like my first episodes. I'm like, why was I trying to be so serious? Like, why was I trying to be Connie Chung on the Weather Channel?
Yeah.
Like,
well, and that's something that we kind of tell everyone who comes through the studio. We're like, look, your first few episodes are probably going to suck.
They were awful.
And that's okay, because it's part of the journey. And those people that are been there from the beginning are going to love growing with you.
Yeah.
Even us, like our studio, like seeing the light, we constantly make changes to the light to make it better and better. And like looking, like we had one client come 1 week and then they came like 2 weeks later and I changed the lights again. And from the episode that their first episode to the second episode, it just looked so much better. And they were way more comfortable too. And myself, right? Like I had a lot of fear of like getting in front of the camera. I've done 17 years behind the camera, right? And actually, and I think I've talked about this before, but I actually filmed and edited like 10 video podcasts 7 or 8 years ago. Like I went to different businesses, wasted their time because I never released a single episode, but we brought all of our production gear to their stuff, sat with them for an hour and a half talking about business, talking about marketing. And I got so scared to put it out because I was just like, oh, what are people going to think of me? I'm not trying to become a personality, this or that. Like, I don't want people to judge me. So I literally never released an episode. I don't know if I still have the footage. If I do, I should go back and try to release them.
Absolutely.
But there's always that fear of like, what are people going to think? And now I'm like, well, this is our business. I have to start doing this. And once I started doing it, I was like, oh, I realized like, why was I scared what people think? Because like what you said, right? Like being afraid of what people think is going to hold you back in life.
And yeah, and period, and everything.
I'm more afraid of looking back and regretting that I never started because I was afraid of what people think.
Yeah.
Which I don't even have people in my life. So why do I care what they think? I got my wife and my kids, and that's my life right
that's all
there.
You need.
So, so I love that. I think that's a common fear for people that want to get started.
Yeah.
And along the journey, has there been anything that like you wish you knew when you first started?
I wish I would have applied myself a little bit better on like editing, because it took us like 16 hours to edit the first episode. It was tough. Plus, we also had 2 cameras. And luckily, my cameraman and best friend / business partner, he had already had experience in filming, photography. He went to school for all that. But when it came down time to where he started law school and he couldn't no longer help me or give me the time to edit, he made me sit down and learn Premiere and other editing apps. And I was so pissed because I was like, I am the creator behind this. I am just supposed to be here writing the episodes and putting it on paper and projecting it on camera. Why am I editing?
Yeah.
But when it's your business and your baby, you have to, do you want it out there or not? Because we tried to go to other editors. Oh my gosh. Once you become like, once you have a good editing style,
Mm-hmm.
it's really tough to find somebody to match that.
Yeah.
So if there was something that I could say that I would have applied myself a little bit better, I also would have like studied my script and episodes, because you should at least have an episode layout of what you're going to cover and try to stick to those points, because when you don't, then it takes more time to record the episode, to cut it, to like do another take. I wish I just would have applied myself a little bit more, and at certain times, like during the few years, like taken it a little bit more
Yeah.
seriously, because I think that I could have definitely been a lot farther. So
Exactly.
shoulda, woulda, coulda. I'm going to focus on the present now, but it was just more like applying myself. Like, hey, there's so much free information out there, right? On YouTube, your
Mm-hmm.
podcast now is going to have free information for people who want to start a podcast. So that's like just applying myself more, and being a little bit less like fearless. Like sometimes it's your own fear that's stopping you from releasing that episode.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have 3 episodes in my queue that are private. I don't know why I didn't. And my cameraman was totally pissed. Like, we literally just recorded all that for you to say, you hate the way you look, you hate the way that you feel. And also, I would also say, like, give yourself enough time to rest in between the grind, because especially in this industry, if you're not rested, you're going to see it and hear it on camera.
Yeah. No, I love that. And it's true, right? So we've filmed for The Truth About Marketing probably 17 episodes already. We've released 3, and there's still a part of me that's like, should we release these? Like, I'm kind of afraid, and we're going to. But what I want to do is actually spend the time to get all the thumbnails, all the shorts done, everything done first. Then, just because, like, since we do this every single day for clients,
Yeah.
it's really hard for us to spend time on it ourselves for us. And so I want to get everything scheduled so I can give everyone their dates instead of just like,
Yeah.
because one thing I've learned, and it's not just through here, but like life in general, marketing in general, is consistency. Like, if you're going to do it, then you should be posting every single Thursday or every third Thursday, like whatever it is, it has to happen on the same time, on the same night, at the same everything. Otherwise, your audience will never know what to expect from you. And they can't follow your journey if they don't know, if it's just random. And we're really bad at that. Like, we do these random lives. And so we're trying to figure out a system that works for us of saying, hey, every Thursday at 1, we are going to go live.
Right.
And whether we do it or not, we're going to try our best. But so that's one thing that I've learned and we're working on doing. And then, like what you're talking about with editing, and I know we haven't really even talked so much about like what we do here at the podcast studio. But that's the nice thing. Like, literally, as soon as we're done with this episode will be 98% done.
Oh, wow.
So then we throw the intros and outros. Now, obviously, if you want to go in there, like, oh, we have to take out this part because whatever reason, that takes a little bit more time. But like, you come in, you sit down, you talk. When you walk out, yeah, you're at like 85, 90% completely done with the
That's so
episode.
beautiful.
we turn around our episodes typically one day is when we get it to them.
That's
and
amazing.
So it makes it way easier so you can focus on just being the creative.
Yeah.
And just having fun and doing your part, because there's a lot of other moving pieces to this. And then you also have a whole life that you have to do on top of it. So we try to make it as easy as possible, where once again, and we learned your style, we work with you to figure out, okay, cool, this is what you like. And we're a big fan of people leaving their mistakes in their podcast because it's more authentic.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't be so polished.
Yeah, I think that something that I learned is like authenticity is something that people are more gravitate more toward. So they don't want you to be perfect. They just want you to be authentic, and they want to see that you're human. They want to see that you're real, that you make mistakes, and they want to grow with you as an audience. Like, I love to look back at now. I actually like to look back at my episodes and be like, dang, like I've grown so much, even from like the smallest things, like, wow, during quarantine, like I gained a little bit of quarantine weight, and like you could just see the glow up. And you could also see the glow up from when I wasn't working to when I was working. Like, we kind of had better, equipment over time, and we got the neon sign behind us, just the little things. But the consistency, I wanted to touch on that. So I had an episode shoot out every Tuesday at 3 p.m. I'm at like 35 episodes, I believe, every Tuesday. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter. As soon as we got done recording, I'm staying at my cameraman's house, my best friend, and I'm editing. And I'm there from like, we usually would start recording at 4 p.m. and I wouldn't get out till midnight. And it didn't matter. And even on Memorial Weekend, when everybody was up boating, it didn't matter. We decided to stay in and finish what we said we were going to do because I already had an announcement of when the channel was going to announce. And I'm like, if I don't deliver, I'm literally failing myself. And that's embarrassing. So you're right. The consistency is everything. And then when I went back to work, it was like 3 months before another episode. And I even had people come up to me at work in the crowd, like young girls that were like, hey, I watch your channel, but I haven't seen an episode. And that's kind of embarrassing, like I feel like I let myself down and them down.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like the consistency is everything. Cause my views went from like 2, 3, 4,000 views to like less than 1,000.
Yeah. So that's one thing, like in the world of marketing and when you look at it, like marketing to me is nothing more than relationship building.
Yeah.
Right. In real life.
Right.
Right. Like if I was talking to a girl or if you were talking to a guy and they weren't consistent, they say, oh, hey, I'm going to pick you up at 7, then shows up at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Or doesn't even text you back, doesn't even show up, but then pops up this time. You're probably quickly going to move on because that person's so inconsistent in your life. You can't depend on them. You don't know when they're going to be around, And so it's the same thing with marketing or growing your podcast or your business in general. You have to be consistent. So like, let's just say you're going to do a live show, like for example, like us, like every Thursday at noon or at 1, we go live. And now your clients, your audience knows, cool, Thursday at noon, they go live. If I can't watch it then, I'll watch it Thursday night later, right?
Okay, yeah.
And if you look at the most successful ones, they're on a very strict schedule and they release no matter what. So most of them will film a few episodes in advance. So they have some cue just in case somebody gets sick or whatever. And it's just so important because like we have a client that does a 30-minute live show 3 days a week here in the studio, and they do it 3 days a week, and their audience just slowly grows and grows because they're being consistent.
Okay.
Whereas when we go live, we're super sporadic in here. And sometimes we'll get like 5, 10 people in, sometimes it's 0 people. But I know like if we start being way more consistent, going like, hey, every single Thursday we're going live, we're answering questions, we're gonna bring in guests, we'll get more and more people following us because they know what to expect. Because people want to learn. And they want to hear your experiences. They want to learn from you. They want to learn from us.
Yeah.
But they can't if you're not that dependable person in their life.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Because once they see that like you're kind of inconsistent, or maybe they see inconsistency as like lack of passion or lack of like drive. It's kind of like if you're not going to be passionate about it, then why would they be passionate about tuning in? Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of how now that I'm reflecting on where I'm at with my channel and where I want to be, I'm like, damn, but respectfully so, like I'm not saying I have fallen out of love with my channel, but I'm just ready for like the next step.
Well, it's evolving.
Yeah.
Right. You're adapting and that's what you need to do, right? Because you also don't want it to be the same thing over and over and over. I mean, think about TV shows. Those TV shows that are really cool, but then the 5th season, it's the exact same thing every single episode, exactly. And then like let's go Walking Dead, for example, right? They killed it for years. It was so cool. And then like season 7 came, or whatever season it was, with like the lions and stuff. And then people are just like, man, this is so okay. More walkers coming. Like,
right.
Okay, wrap this up. Let's change. Let's adapt with the times. And so it's the same thing with like what you're building. It's okay to shift and go to where you're more passionate, right? And so there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we're making that shift too. We're like, hey, let's do just about marketing. And I realized that's not helpful for our audience and for our business goals, because if we're just talking about marketing, we're not providing answers because we're not being specific. And that's the advice I give like our clients. And once again, it's a little bit different because we typically work with like corporate. And so like their audience, they know who that is.
Yeah.
But we always say like, okay, well, one, what are you passionate about? What do you want to talk about? Who do you want to talk to? And then two, understand who's your audience. Who's the person that is going to watch this, that's going to find value, whether that's education, entertainment. Who's that person watching this and what do they want?
Right.
And then you kind of work backwards and go, cool, well, they will want this. So yeah, let's maybe cut this part out and now change it to where we bring on different types of guests versus just bottle industry. You know, maybe switch up the name a little bit, like I know you're planning on doing.
Yeah,
but
I definitely am ready to rebrand. It's in the works, and it's just more in alignment with who I'm growing and evolving into. And I want to open up to a wider audience. I think that people tend to think like Bottle Girl Diaries is like really gossipy, and it's okay to have everything with balance and moderation. But like I said, I'm just ready to expand. So yes, currently in the process of reinventing my channel, rebranding, you know.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean that all the subscribers and viewers, they're coming with me.
Yeah.
They're growing with me, and then we're going to gain some new ones. So
yeah. And I think being authentic, right? Releasing even another 5-minute trailer, just like, hey, I appreciate your guys' support. We're still going to push forward, but it's going to look a little bit different because I've grown. And, you know, I hope you guys follow along with this journey. They're going to buy into it, right? Because they're in it with you.
They're not leaving me.
and that's the crazy thing, right? Is like with social media and especially with podcasting, I feel like even more so, like people are buying into your story.
Right.
They're buying into what you're building, what you're doing, and they want to grow with you. So when you make those changes, you're not losing them because they want those changes.
Right.
I mean, imagine watching a movie and the main character doesn't transform or change.
Yeah.
He's like a piece of crap and stays a piece of crap the whole time. You're like, what was the point of this movie?
Yeah.
Right. Or like he was lonely the whole time and just ended up lonely still. You're just like, okay, well, like storytelling, the basics of storytelling is transformation.
Right.
And so people buy into the journeys. And that's why I think podcasting is cool because they're like flies on the wall, you know?
Yeah.
I think about it all the time, you know, because there's that saying, like, if these walls could talk. And I was like, well, ours do. Like, we have cameras capturing everything. Like, our walls actually do talk back, you know? So that's cool. I had a couple people submit some questions.
Oh, good.
Now,
yay. We love questions.
They weren't specifically for like Bottle Diaries.
That's fine.
But so one question was from actually like a AC company called Sierra Cools Vegas.
Okay.
And so they had a question about like how to get more reach. You know, their account has 400 followers and they're trying to get more followers.
I would say consistent with your posting, and you have to post on all platforms. So example, when I have one sizzle reel, I'll take it from Instagram to TikTok. I've even posted on Snapchat, Facebook. You have to literally, you can't be afraid. It doesn't matter if your Facebook only has 200 people. It's still, you know, another set of eyes, another set of ears. It's going to resonate for somebody. You know, somebody's going to see it. Now, one thing that I've learned is TikTok has the best algorithm. And so posting on there, you know, would be helpful as well. But just really, and also not just being one of those ghost accounts, you have to engage with your followers too. So you need to go and like their businesses. Or example, like I will follow back. I'm not going to follow back some guy from my high school, and nothing against him, but I'm going to follow back a lot of other podcast studios or pages because that's what my page is based around. So you want to kind of stay within like what you're trying to engage with and promote, right? Something I can say that helped me a lot with promoting is this is kind of sound cliche, but just being a good person in real life, because anybody can build a genius brand. I know some amazing girls that have built like or created great swimsuit lines or clothing lines, and there's no shade or no offense here, but people didn't buy from them because if they don't trust you in person and you're not very, you know, genuine and authentic, like already online on your personal account, they're not going to trust what you're buying or selling. So that's another thing too. It's just like kind of just your genuine interactions off social media and on social media. But something that helped me was literally promoting to every platform, and then promoting it on my stories, making sure that you have your Instagram activated to where the link can be clicked on, because people just want what's easy these days. They want to click on that link. They want to go to your business page and they want to be able to subscribe, follow, or go to your website.
Yeah, I love that. No, it's true. Consistency, posting everywhere. I mean, posting different content for different platforms as well, because some won't translate over, right? Certain platforms like certain things more than others. One thing I always tell businesses when they talk about social media reach is I think there's too many people that focus on, oh, I need to get X amount of subscribers. I need to get X amount of this. And from a business perspective, you don't. For example, we went live the other day.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this a few times too, but we went live the other day. We had maybe 10 people throughout the whole time pop in. During that, I was giving some advice to this company about like, hey, what if you offered this service and you did it this way? It's a different video company. They specialize with helping realtors. During that, one person was watching and they texted him during it and said, hey, that idea you guys have, I'm in.
That's awesome.
Right? Like,
yeah.
One thing I think that a lot of businesses don't understand about social media as well is the people who are going to buy from you don't engage much. They don't talk. They watch silently.
And then
right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, like my company, like Canical Media, our production company, we get like no engagement at all. Like our clients hardly even click like if they see it, but I'll be out at a networking event. I'll be whatever. I meet somebody. They're like, wait, you're Canical Media. I love your work. Your work's the best I've ever seen.
Awesome.
I'm like, cool. It'd be nice if you clicked like or like wrote that. Right. But I've been following you for years and like, I'm just waiting. We're almost ready to use you. I just pitched this idea. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, sounds good. And so for me, my advice is, create content, but don't worry about the numbers. Worry about building relationships online with people. Like what you were saying, being genuine. And if you only have 400 followers, like Sierra Cools Vegas does, then engage with those people. Like if they do like it or if they do comment on it, respond back to them or message them saying, hey, thanks, man. Like, I appreciate it. What kind of stuff would you like to see more from us? Or why did you like this? And get to know more about your audience, right? Because I mean, I've already looked at their Instagram page actually, and I have a lot of ideas for them of like what they should be doing differently. But whether you're trying to grow a podcast or your social media page, it's consistency, it's understanding your audience and not posting just to post.
Right.
Like have a plan.
Intention.
Yeah.
Intention.
And I think too many people just post stuff because they want to post stuff and then they just follow trends and like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like numbers
That's
don't mean
for your
anything.
personal page. Like just to post what you want to post. That's your art gallery. Your business page has to be within alignment of
exactly
what it is, you're doing.
And with social media, there's definitely a wide range of things. Like people like seeing behind the scenes of everything. They like getting like a little peek behind the curtain of like, oh, like, who's the staff? How do you guys do this? What's your life as a podcaster look like? Like they want to see like the you, but it just has to be more intentional. Like it shouldn't be just like filming stuff and filming dances from TikToks because you're hoping to get the views. Because what do those views do? If it doesn't lead back to quality engaged followers that are potential clients, speaking for businesses, then there's no point.
Yeah.
Because who cares about 1 million views from people in like India? Like how that doesn't benefit you if you're servicing houses here in Vegas.
Right. Correct.
And so my take's a little bit different, but I'm also thinking more from like, I guess the corporate side of things, since we help a lot of businesses with that. But if you're growing your podcast, then like hop on those trends because you're just trying to get eyes and hoping them. But then once again, it's understanding your demographic. Like if your stuff talks specifically to bottle girls, then it's creating the type of content that makes sense for them. Like get ready with me, or the pains of being a bottle girl. Like my wife was one. Like she talks about it still. It's been like 9 years since she's been there, and she's still like, I have nightmares.
Oh my
gosh, this and that. Like there's a lot of stuff she didn't like. There's a lot of things she did like,
of course.
But yeah. So another question we had submitted from Master to the Network was the true the true struggles of business and how to overcome the head trash.
The true struggles of business, I would say, is when you're by yourself and you don't have money like I didn't during quarantine, is not realizing that like business expenses can be high. Um, Also, when you're trying to do everything by yourself, example, like I would have loved to have an editor on my team. I would have loved to have a whole camera crew besides just Spinelli because he needs help too. And also something that I really struggle with like is sometimes like what content can I bring out next that right now is like just very relatable that's just gonna grab them because like sometimes it's hard to come up with that, you know? Um and what was the second part of the question?
Head trash.
Head
Like,
trash, like
like, I mean, the way I kind of view that question is like the negativity that you talk to yourself, like saying you
oh
can't
yeah.
do this, you know.
Oh, yeah, all the time. It's like, "Cindy, you don't look cute enough today, you know, your makeup doesn't look good. Why are your eyebrows crooked?" Like, it literally all those things come into play, and you just have to tell yourself, "Hey, it doesn't matter." 'Cause, one thing I'll always remember is something somebody told me. He was like, "If you don't treat yourself like a big deal, nobody's gonna treat you like a big deal." And I will look in the mirror and I'll be like, "You know what, Cindy? Like, if you don't get out and do this, nobody's going to do this for you." And it's also kind of like nobody is doing what you're doing. So keep on doing what you're doing. So there's always like, I tell myself like mantras. That's how I overcome it. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter. I'm going to be honest. I'm not having the best week. And this morning I went to a photo shoot for work and went on an empty stomach and then came here right after. I had to go home. I ate in between, threw this jumpsuit on, and then I don't know what it was. Like I just got a feeling of like anxiety on the way here. I was just questioning myself, like, what am I doing? And I said, it doesn't matter. You're already here. Like you have to follow through with your commitments. I guess that's something is always follow through with your commitments because how you do one thing is how you do everything. Once you start falling short and letting yourself fall short in that area, you're going to continue to do it. And then it's a trickle effect from there. And then next thing you know, a week of inconsistency is 6 months worth of cleaning up that mess, whether it's your workout routine, your diet, to put into your business, your podcast. Like I let 3 months go by without an episode. It took a lot of time to clean up that mess and get relevant again.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I think that's, you know, and I appreciate your vulnerability to be honest, right? Like, and being real because it's true. Like, I mean, whether you're building a podcast and treating it like a business, whether you're trying to grow a business, like I've ran my own, I'll say business for about 15 years.
mhm.
Like it's never been easy.
No.
It's it's never gotten easier. And people are like, oh, when you make X amount of money dollars, it gets easier. It's like, and I hit that number, I'm like, nope, it's actually harder now and more stressful. There's more reliant on me. And you know, we are in a spot right now, like where I'm building out this studio, right? I thought this was gonna be like, oh, 17 years of doing this. I could set this up in like a weekend. It's been like 6.5 months. I'm like, oh yeah, we're not like we're open. We have clients. We're going. I'm still trying to build out 2 more rooms, build out our dressing room, and there's all these little things we keep figuring out and fixing. I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe in April we'll like really launch, and like that'll be our official like okay grand opening. I feel like we're in a soft launch mode, but like it's stressful. Like we know we have a really good product here.
You do.
We have a very good service. We have really good quality because of my experience and background. But it costs a lot of money to build this.
Yep.
And I'm like out of pocket for everything, which slows down my other business, which is production stuff, where we met. And it's stressful. You get all you constantly. I heard a quote. I forgot who it was, but it was like entrepreneurship is just constantly wondering if you're doing the right thing. And I'm like, yeah, that's every single day. I'm just like, wait, was this the right choice for my family? Was this the right choice for me? do people need a space like this? Do people like what we're trying to do here? And I'm always questioning myself, and I get that head trash. I get in my own head of like, you're not good enough, you're not this, you're not that. And I've been working pretty hard on that. Started doing affirmations.
Yes.
I've met some really cool people along my podcasting journey that has helped me a lot with growing individually.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so grateful for them. And it's crazy. The more that I've been doing this and meeting people and having one-on-one conversations with people, I've grown personally. And my passion for podcasting and what I think it really is just growing and growing, because I didn't have this passion for it when we started this. I was like, oh, this is an easy way to make money. I'm really good at videos. People need this. Let me do it. Now I'm like, oh, dang, like there's so much power in podcasting for businesses, for individuals. And if you learn how to do it the right way, it can change your life. And that might not just be money wise, but like, I mean, once again, like I would have never done affirmations, writing down affirmations before this.
Right.
I would have never done that. Like, it's weird to me. But I started doing it and I feel more confident because, like what you were saying, if you don't treat yourself well, if you don't believe in yourself,
yep,
nobody else is going to believe in you.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah.
I would say though too, that most entrepreneurs, creatives, some of the most successful billionaires, millionaires, and thousandaires, they've all gone broke trying to get something off the ground. I can tell you something. I've gone completely broke once I got my money back from quarantine, from lockdown, from unemployment. I went broke and used every last dime that I could to make sure that I had the right lighting, et cetera, et cetera. Thank goodness my cameraman did not charge me anything because he was bored out of his mind as well. And he really believed in me. And sometimes all it takes is just like one person to believe in you, to believe in yourself. And about affirmations, now you're a spiritual gangster. You go.
Let's do it.
So, affirmations are great because, okay, so something about podcasting is there's so much power in the tongue. And whether you're spiritual or not, it even says it in the Bible, there's power in the tongue. So what you're saying has power, right? So believe it or not that you never thought that you were going to be the one sitting behind the camera, but you're inspiring businesses, other podcasters, and by just what you're saying. So you say it's just podcasting. It's not, because there's power in our voices and our messages that we are spreading throughout the world, because you don't know how far that episode's going to go.
Yeah.
So you have to know that what you're doing is amazing, because I'm going to be honest with you. When I saw you guys, when we recorded that commercial, I was like in a really low spot with my channel. I didn't know what to do because, I found out he was leaving me as a cameraman because, he's obviously going to be a lawyer now. And I was like, what am I going to do? He's taught me everything. What am I going to do? And I don't have the time to continue to sit here and edit for 7 hours each episode because I'm a lot slower than he is. I've gotten a lot quicker. But then you gave me hope because I saw your podcast studio and I'm like, wait, I know these guys. I met you guys. So you just really never know like who's paying attention or who you actually may be helping.
Yeah.
So, definitely I would say like, just know like what you're doing is great and your studio is amazing. And something I like that you said, you were like, it's not perfect. Well, you're not supposed to wait till it's perfect to start. You're supposed to start until it gets perfect, and it's never going to be perfect. It's always going to be like a work in progress.
Yeah. And I catch myself, and I appreciate the kind words. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
affirmations.
Yeah. And I catch myself all the time. Like, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to do the website until everything's done. I'm like, okay, well, we should just have it up because, and we have like a placeholder. Because I know it's never going to be perfect. Like even the lighting in here, like people come in here like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to change this soon. Don't worry.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, I already look at it. I'm like, okay, I need 2 more lights in here. I need this. I need that. And in that room, you sat in the first room, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
Amazing.
And I'm like, I'm really going to redesign all the lights. And it's going to be even better when you come here, again, because there's just little things. And for me, it's always going to be that way with the rooms, with the set design, with the lighting, even the cameras, the technology we're doing. And that's good because you have to constantly improve. And if we were just like, no, this is good enough, like Like
It's never good enough.
that's not a good mindset to have of like, it's good enough, whatever. Like we want to improve. And I think so many people do that with even starting a podcast, right? I think
Yes.
they're like, well, I need to be perfect. And that was my problem 7, 8 years ago when I filmed it all. I was like, oh, it's not perfect. Oh, I hate the way I looked or I talk or whatever. Oh, I'm so fat. And I was way skinnier back then, and it's like, just start with where you are, whether you're filming with your phone, whether you can afford to come to a studio, whether you have someone to talk to or you don't have someone to talk to, just start
Yeah.
and learn and grow as you go.
Yep.
Right? Don't make excuses because that's all it is, right? Like, oh, we can't do this until these things are done. Well, that's just an excuse, right? We actually had people come in and use our studio since week 1 of us putting up lights.
That's amazing.
And I was like so embarrassed, but I'm like, well, one, we need money to pay for all this, right? But I'm like coming in, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, come in. Don't mind my clothes thrown across everywhere because I'm basically living here. There's Amazon boxes everywhere, destroyed, wrappers. This room's kind of done, and people came in and used it and they loved it still. And I'm like, oh, good, thanks. And so we've been growing, and same thing, like I kind of pulled back, but I also have to remind myself, don't pull back so much because I have to keep pushing forward and just enjoy the process.
Yeah, you really have to enjoy the process. And I feel like the hardest part is the creating and the getting started. But once I'm like behind the camera, I'm so happy. Like I love it there, because I'm like, wow, like I'm finally like my voice is finally getting heard. It's not on some pick me energy or like look at me. It's on some I'm gonna spit something today that's gonna be able to like inspire somebody or help somebody or even just make somebody laugh. That's what it's all about, right? So your voice is a lot more powerful than you think. Whether you're comfortable behind camera or not. Like, believe it or not, like I've been watching you guys and I was like, there's my new podcast studio. Found her.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you like our content.
Yes.
I mean, so we have Adam Stay Woke is
Adam
watching
Stay
this right
Woke.
now. Yeah. Adam Stay Woke. He said inspiring combo, which is cool. Like, that's exactly what we're talking about,
Thanks,
right?
Adam.
Like, I don't even know who that is. And they're watching this.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam. Stay woke.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam. Stay woke forever. But like, and that's what it's about, right? And I always say this, like going back to like marketing and the types of videos that we typically produce for clients through our other company, is our goal isn't to create content, right? Our goal is to connect with the audience.
It's amazing.
And we're trying to inspire them and help them along their journey of getting success. And that inspiration and that success looks different. That might be getting a really good taco in your mouth.
Yeah.
And enjoying that food. That could be finding the right cancer treatment. That could be like, it doesn't have to be this like, oh, I'm going to have these conversations that change these people's lives in the most dramatic way.
Yeah.
Right. If somebody even watched this one episode and learned one thing and started a podcast today, even if they never come to the studio, we never meet them, like that's cool. Like they listened to your story. They heard a little bit from me and they're like, you know what? Yeah. What am I waiting for?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, that guy is ugly. If he can get in front of the camera, so can I, but I think that's a lot of fear that people have. They're like, well, I don't have a face for it. Right. Like, because we're all so hard on ourselves.
We are.
I'm the heaviest I've ever been in my life. And I could easily say, I'm not getting in front of the camera until I lose weight. Am I going to lose weight? No, I like ice cream too much. I eat convenient fast food too much. And so you just start.
Right.
Like, don't beat yourself up. Somebody put it this way to me. If you don't share your story, you're actually doing a disservice to people because you're holding back from helping somebody. Right. And
you're gatekeeping.
Somebody out there needs to hear your story. They need to hear the mistakes that you've made and what you're trying to transform into.
Yeah.
And Adam, love the Dialogue Master Network. And Adam Stay Woke said, let's go.
Let's go.
Hey, if you guys have any questions, I know we haven't really addressed like live, and I appreciate people watching this. If you guys have any questions, comment, we can see them, and we're happy to answer any of them. We're probably only going to go for, I don't know, like 8 or 10 more minutes. So if you guys have any questions for, me or Cindy, feel free to ask. Also, make sure to go follow
BottleGirl Diaries,
which might be changing soon.
Give me like a couple months. We're still working on the creation here, but yeah, she's in the works for sure. So I don't think anybody will be disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I guess maybe just a final questions for me, and we'll see if anyone that's watching has any questions. Would be, what's your least favorite part of podcasting?
Editing for sure. I loathe it. I loathe editing. It's so tedious. And oh, can I tell you something that really just chaps my ass?
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say that on here?
Sure. We'll beep it out later.
Okay.
We're live, so you can say whatever you want. But
when I schedule somebody, an interviewee, okay, and I tell them, hey, just so you know, if anything changes, please let me know. You know, the day before. I understand life happens, but when you cancel, it's not just my time, it's my cameraman's time, which his time is very, very minimal.
Yeah.
And I said, so please let me know. If I had a quarter for every time somebody canceled, I'd be very wealthy. And it got to a point where there was certain girls that I wanted on my channel for certain sex and topics, but it got me where I said it's a one and done. If I reach them to come on the channel and they cancel the day of, actually the day of, or not even the day of, one of them did it an hour before. And I do get that life, but like not to be rude, but like you didn't have a death in the family. You had every chance to take.
A lot that goes this.
Yes.
Especially if you're doing it by yourself, there's even more going into this.
Oh my gosh.
But if you're coming here, there's a cost associated to it.
Yeah.
But
yes.
We're pretty flexible. And the fact that we're newer and we're not as crazy busy, we can be even more flexible. So we would never be like, well, pay anyway, but it's the thing, it's like people don't understand how much work really goes into doing this behind the scenes. So they're like, oh yeah, I'm not going to go. Sorry. And you're like, what? We had this whole thing planned. We paid for this for this time. The setup. Like if you're doing it yourself, you have to go set up everything.
We do, yeah.
Like we actually just had some clients in here like 2 or 3 days ago, and they're like, "This is so weird. We don't have to spend an hour breaking down everything. We can just leave and go get food." And then while they were eating, because I didn't have to do too much to their episode. Literally, like 15 minutes later, while they're at Black Bear Diner across the street, I sent them their video, and they're like, "Wait, we haven't even finished. We just left the studio and it's done." And so, yeah, I think that's probably one of the it's a lot harder to book guests and get them to show up than people think it is.
Yes,
it's a lot harder to coordinate schedules and stuff, but when it does work, it works well. We did have a couple questions actually.
Yay, we love questions.
So we have Master of the Network in here live. He also submitted a question earlier. And then we have Adam Stay Woke still in here, and he asked a question. So
we like Adam Stay Woke.
Adam said, actually, let's do Master of the Network. He asked first. So what advice would you give your 20-year-old self that was just getting into business?
Wow. The advice that I would give my 20-year-old self is creating more of a routine. Like you need to have a routine, and I guess just learning how to say no, saying no to things that don't align with your goals, because that comes along with like the partying, the drinking, the eating, the mindless dating. You have to be really intentional with your time. You really, really do. And I would say that just the advice I'd give to my 20-year-old self is just like really lock in, because I wasted a whole decade of my life kind of like in park, right? Like life is like you're in a car, you want to drive even when things get hard, you can turn your emergency lights on. But I literally just parked for like 10 years. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
And that's all because of my lack of discipline, my fear, my lack of like purpose and vision of what I wanted for myself. And because I was like so sporadic, I was like too scared to start. So I think just like knowing when to take the jump and just start. So like I moved to Vegas in my late 20s because I was like, enough is enough. I'm tired of being broke. I'm tired of not like living to my fullest potential. So I guess the biggest advice I would be is just like Learn how to say no to the things that are distracting you from your end goals.
Yeah.
Because everybody always has a goal. You had a goal when you were a 5-year-old child of what you wanted to be, which mine for me was I sat in front of a mirror and pretended like I had my own TV show. You knew what you wanted to be when you were younger. And usually that doesn't change. You usually hit your 20s and 30s like, I wanted to be that. So like that's what you need to remember, like your vision. You have to like stick to the plan, stay focused, cut out the distractions because the other stuff's always going to be there.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I think people get too distracted easily.
I do. I have ADHD.
Yeah, I get. And so I started basically at 21 building my own business.
That's amazing.
So if I were to go back and tell my 21-year-old self, I would say focus on one thing. Because, and I see this in so many newer entrepreneurs and even in podcasting, right? It's like, oh, I want to do this and then that. But you can't. You have to pick one, right? And I knew that going into building this business. I was like, my production company is going to slow down. And I'm okay with this because I believe in this so much. And I know that there's so much more power behind this. And I'll still be able to get to do that other stuff for fun here and there and make money doing it. But this is going to provide a better future for my guys that work with me, for my clients. And so I'm willing to lose focus on that to focus solely on this now. So I think learning to focus on one thing, believing in yourself more.
Yes.
And then the other thing I would have done, I guess, maybe differently. Now, I wouldn't change anything because it's a process and it's gotten me to where I am and it's taught me everything that I've learned. But the thing I would do differently if I could, and I'm starting to do that now, is two things. One, find people to learn from and surround yourself with people doing things. I spent too much time with other people that weren't doing anything. Or my biggest problem over the past 15 years is I seclude myself. I don't go out. I got a kid. I got a wife. I've had a wife since I was 21. And so like I wouldn't go out and I wouldn't meet people and I wouldn't try to find people doing things. I would stay so secluded. And so now I'm trying to grow. And that's the thing about the podcast is cool is like, to me, this is networking.
Yeah.
Like I get to like learn more about you and what you're doing. Like, oh, cool. Like she's a hustler. Let's do more stuff together like this. Like, this is cool. Let me pick your brain. Let me learn from you. You know, I get business owners in here. One of my clients who's, you know, incredibly successful. I get to learn from him. And we're actually going to start a show together because he wants to. I'm like, yeah, dude. He's like, you want to be in? I was like, and I get to be at the table with you, of course.
Oh, that's amazing.
And bring your people in, like, and I get to sit there. Like, yeah. So I would not necessarily bring a partner in, but I'd try to find, if you needed a partner, bring a partner in. It's okay to give up a slice of the pie to build something bigger. Like I would give, honestly, 60, 70% of this, what I'm building right now, to my mentor if he wanted to take it, and he would take it and help me build it, because 30% of what he can build is probably way more than 100% of what I could build. So that's kind of what I guess I would do. Massive Network said squirrel, right? Because we don't lose our focus. And then, so Adam Stay Woke said, how do you look at the value of collaboration with individuals below you and above you? And this will be our last question.
I don't ever like to think that anybody's ever below me. I think that in this world, just in general, with collaboration, is we can all take and learn something from each other. I think that in this life, like the main goal is to be like more, instead of what can I gain from this, is how can I contribute and add value to this? So it's always the collaboration. That's the important part of it. Now, looking at people and saying like, they're really good in this area that I want to learn in. So like, I'll be honest, like when I shot that commercial with you guys, I wanted to learn from you. I knew that there was some reason that I met you. I didn't know what it was. Then you told me about your production company or your media company. And I was like, that's it right there. I want to learn from these guys. I think it's important to surround yourself with people who are doing better than you, because that could be like a goal for you. You know what I mean? Like you want to be inspired by them. Otherwise, then you're just going to be, you know, plateauing in your life and just kind of feeling like mundane, average. But like I said, I don't think there's ever anybody like below you. Obviously, we can all learn and grow together, but and there's people in different walks of life, and everybody's in different paths and different stages in their life. So we can all just really like collaborate and learn from each other. We can gain something from each other. And when you do that, there's enough for us to eat at the finish line. There's enough room at the finish line for everybody to eat.
Yeah.
And when you think of that, that's an abundance mindset instead of, oh, that person, if I feature her on my channel, I'm featuring tons of hot girls that maybe one guy might think she's hotter than me, but it's never about, oh, she's going to take that shine away from me. No, I'm still the main character, but I want to add an addition to, if this is going to make the episode better, I want to bring them in. I want to collaborate. And, just, I think that when you own that confidence, that says more about you. But collaboration, it just helps everybody gain, different perspectives. And just like I said, abundance mindset is there's enough room for all of us at the finish line.
I love that. I think I agree with everything you said. And then a slightly different take is intentional collaboration.
I love that. Mm-hmm.
Right. I used to say yes to like everything because, maybe this will help. Maybe this will help. But when you say yes to everything, you're saying no to everything else. And so time is so limited.
Yeah.
And so for me, I don't care. And I guess you have to look at what defines below. Is it they make less money than me? They have less followers than me? What is that below definition that you're considering, and what's above? But for me, it's more when I look at collaborations and podcasts and in life with business, it's who do I want to learn from? Because that person with, we have like 1,100 followers on our Instagram page. We're not like anything special. That person with 1 million followers, there's a lot I can learn from them. That person with 20 followers, there's a lot I can learn from them.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's more being intentional of like, what's that person doing? Is that person doing something I think is interesting that brings value to my audience, right? With focusing on the podcast, like with this, right? Like the guests that I'm looking at bringing on, we have a girl with millions of followers on TikTok, and it's like, okay, that's cool. But then this person over here that just started with like 20 followers, that's a cool story too. So like, I don't view people differently in that regard because everyone's on a different journey and there's value in each part of that journey, but it needs to make sense. Like if I'm in a collaborate, I actually had a call today with a guy and we're talking about doing like a kind of a partnership, but it has to make sense for him and needs to make sense for us. And if it does, cool. And if not, that's fine. We move on. And so that's kind of my thought. Adam Stay Woke said, amazing answer to yours. He didn't write that for mine. Apparently my answer wasn't amazing. Thanks,
okay.
Adam.
I actually wanted to say something.
Yeah.
You said something that kind of stuck in my mind. You said quality, right? Okay. So yes. Now, when you say collaboration of like people below you, I would say this. I have not said yes to being featured on every podcast that's reached out to me. And here's why. So I have a way that I want to represent myself because first impressions are everything, right? So there's no shade, but when I'm asked to go on a podcast that is a room full of different females other than me that are maybe in more of like a different industry, like maybe they're more into like pornography or something, no, I'm not going to go on that podcast because not all publicity is good publicity. So I liked that you said that, to be intentional with our values and where we are sharing our collaborations. Yes. So do I look down on those people? Absolutely not. However, it doesn't resonate for me. And I don't want to be in a room talking about, doing X, Y, and Z behind the room or on camera, et cetera, et cetera. That's not what resonates or aligns with my values, my goals, and how I want to represent myself.
Yeah.
So I'm actually glad that you elaborated on what you meant by collaborating with people below you. I just don't want to always collaborate. I understand that that person's podcast has X, Y, and Z, amount of views, maybe more than mine does, or more comments and more more subscribers and more likes. But no, I'm not going to sit in a room with people who are not in the same, like, core values as me, actually.
Exactly.
So yes, I'm glad you elaborated on that, because that popped up in my head. So I haven't said yes to every single podcast that I've been asked to be on. If it doesn't resonate or fit with like kind of how I want to even promote myself, it's no.
It needs to be aligned with your values and what you're trying to achieve. And then I guess the last thought on this, and we'll end. And Adam said you had a great answer too, my guy. So thanks, Adam. I was just joking.
Thanks, Adam. Stay woke.
But like the other thought, and then also thanks, Randy, for saying that we have a great looking studio. We think it's pretty nice looking too.
It's beautiful. I love it here.
So my last thought on this, and then we'll wrap up. We have someone in there waiting, but is two things: collaboration. And this is advice I give a lot of creatives when they're trying to start a company, because especially as like a creative, and I'm sure you've, as like a model, has been asked like, oh, like trade for portfolio, right?
Yeah.
Which is cool. And you can collab with people when it makes sense for you, right? Like for me, for example, with the podcast studio, when we started opening, I got hit up by a lot of people going, let's do a collab. I'm like, yeah, well, what if you collaborate with my bank account? You pay us for the studio time and we collab with you and give you the studio time. That'd be great collaboration, huh? Yeah. Oh, we got 2 million horror film followers. That doesn't make sense for me. Yeah. You got 2 million Las Vegas business owners.
That's what you need.
That's a different story.
For sure.
I'll collaborate with you. That makes more sense, right? And so it has to make sense. And if you want to reach out and do like free work as a creative or as a podcaster and bringing people on, then just make sure it's something you want. Because those people that hit you up going like, oh, hey, like talking from a filmer's perspective, and especially as a model too, right? Like, oh, like, hey, if you do this for free, man, oh yeah, we'll be able to send you work and this, that. Those people never send work. And the people that do send are cheap. And so collaboration in that mindset, right, is, I tell photographers and filmers all the time, they're starting out, like, if you want to reach out to a company and go like, hey, I love what you guys do. Like, I want to do these videos for you guys completely free, then then collaborate with them. But if it's people coming to you, unless it makes sense and something you really want to do, that false pretense of that they're going to help you, or like the followers and stuff, it's never going to lead anywhere. And then the other thing is, when you collaborate, actually collaborate.
Right.
Don't be transactional and go, what's in this for me only? Right. Like, and that's the point of this podcast. There's nothing in it. Like, I mean, yeah, we're going to create content that to help other people. Hopefully that eventually brings people into the studio, but there's no sales pitch. There's nothing. Like, I want to get to know people. I want to meet them. I want to network them, learn their journey. Yeah. Because part of this too, the collaboration in it for me is, one, we're going to give you some content that's cool that you get to use, but then two, I get to learn a lot from you about what your struggle, and that helps us change the way that we talk in our marketing. Yeah. And know what, okay, well, if the struggle is the edit, well, yeah, we take that part away. Okay, cool. Let's focus on telling people that, like, so it helps us out. And so there's no like transaction with it. And I think too often people are too transactional, but I appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you.
We're going to wrap this up. Where can people find you if you want to talk directly to the camera right there?
Hi, you guys can follow me on my YouTube page, which is BottleGirlDiaries, or my personal page, which is I Am Cindy Nansiri. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions later on, DM us.